Hi, my name's Jake.
Hi, I'm Jelly.
My name is Hannah.
I'm Josh.
And we are group 12 in section 2, and we're going to talk about the ServiceNow rental system and perform a system analysis on it. So this will be the map of our presentation. We'll talk a little bit about the background of this current system, the business case, as well as provide a system overview over the ServiceNow system, and then give a little analysis about it. And then we'll provide our proposal to make this system better.
The client we are working with is BYU IT Surplus, which is an organization under the Office of Information Technology of Brigham Young University. This organization was established 10 years ago by a previous staff named Daryl. In the past 4 years, this organization has been supervised by Ben Jenkins. Ben has 2 assistants, who help him to manage this organization. He also has 10 student employees under him. BYU IT Surplus supports the students and the faculty of BYU. They offer a variety of rental equipment, including laptops, desktops, monitors, and all-in-ones. They also help surplusing different equipment from all kinds of departments from campus. The software BYU IT Surplus is using is called ServiceNow. They use this system in their daily task. For example, when there is a surplus pickup, the department uses ServiceNow to request for BYU IT Surplus to come pick it up. They also use the system to process rental requests. The rental request page is what we are focusing on for this project. The scope of this assignment is small. It covers the background information and the implementation of the system. The financing aspect of BYU IT Surplus is independent from the university. It's currently offering free rental system to students and faculty ever since the COVID-19 pandemic started.
Next up, we'll talk about the current system and the way the customers and the employees interact with it. We'll go over a couple diagrams and we'll watch how employees mostly interact with the system, and customers usually tend to interact with the employees themselves, who then input any customer information and requests into the system itself. We'll start off with the domain class diagram, which, as you can see, shows the relationships between each employee, the inventory, the rental requests, and the different elements of the system. Employees, as were mentioned earlier, can be part-time or full-time. Part-time employees tend to be students, and full-time tend to just be salaried workers. The employees work with customers to create rental requests, and customers may be BYU students, BYU faculty, whether that's adjunct or full-time, but they do need to be BYU affiliated and need to have a BYU ID. When customers have a rental request, there is not currently a way to identify which employee was a part of that rental request, though employees are usually the ones putting the rental request into the system itself. Rental requests work with inventory, and each rental request may have more than one inventory item. You may check out a computer, for example, along with a monitor, or just the computer itself, whatever is needed. And inventory is also able to be connected to reports in the system, where the report is a update on the status of the inventory, whether that is registered in the system or whether it has yet to be registered, as well as the inventory condition. We also have a use case diagram that shows the way different employees interact with the system and the clearance they have to access information. The manager is able to access all student employee information and process their information for any rental requests. And the employees who process rental requests on a daily basis also have access to the same information. The manager and those employees as well also have access to override and push through any transactions that need to be pushed through if there's a system error, or if the situation itself merits an extra consideration. Brad, the technician, is also able to update employee and student information if they need to change a phone number, or if they need to update based off of any other change in their life situation. The employee who records rental requests is also able to and needs to record that transaction.
All right, now we'll talk a little bit about the current system and some of the things that could use a little bit of fixing. So currently right now, all employees are able to, that are renting out equipment are able to bypass an eligibility restriction that students may face or faculty may face when renting out supplies. The reason why they may be ineligible, it could be because they're not currently students, or that the status of their working there or studying there is inaccurate. But to solve this problem, basically the system allows all workers renting out the supplies to be able to rent them out, whether they are or not eligible. And what's difficult is being able to track all these transactions. And so whenever these approvals are made to override the eligibility of the student or faculty, and it's very difficult to be able to pull them out and to know when they happen and who was the one renting them out and such.
The new system proposal that we have come up with includes several system requirements. The system requirements that we have outlined include an eligibility monitor. This feature will default customer eligibility to graduation dates for students or to end of contract dates for faculty. It is possible for the end of contract dates to be null for tenured faculty, but we will still have it default to these dates for ease of use during the transaction. We also have a manager override, which will be used whenever the employee or the customer has a need to rent out one of the items outside of their eligibility period. This could happen because of the way that the system records adjunct faculty dates. The manager has mentioned that he wants to be able to rent items to adjunct faculty outside of their teaching periods. And because they are not able to directly update the system, it is important that they be able to continue to rent through the BYU OIT surplus. So we've incorporated a field for the manager to override this system, but this can only be done by the manager and will be done through a manager key or password. We also have requirements that will be manual due date mode, which will remain unspecified or defaulted, but it can be changed to match customer needs. For example, if a student knows that they only need to rent out a computer for 2 months, then they can set the return date to 2 months from their transaction date. This can also happen for adjunct faculty who just need it for a semester and other situations like that. The last requirement that we've specified is the process by employee, which, as mentioned before, will help to increase security throughout the system. This feature will document which employee processed the transaction through a login feature, which will record the employee's ID. And each employee, after processing a transaction, will log out, thus keeping the report up to date and full of the correct information. This is a proposed wireframe for the system. We've included the aforementioned eligibility monitor. This includes customer info as well as contact information. We also will include the employee ID as the login feature. We also have a return date, and this will can be defaulted as mentioned, and if the transaction will be occurring outside of the eligible period or the return date is outside of the eligible period, then you'll need the manager approval password. We also have the rental summary page, and then we have a couple diagrams after that. We have an activity diagram, which starts with the employee looking up the customer net ID. The system will then display the eligibility, and the employee will select a rental item and enter a rental ID. This process can be repeated for multiple transactions, but must be under the same employee and customer ID. While looking up the rental item and entering the desired rental return date, if the return date is inside the eligibility date, the manager does not need to approve the transaction. However, if it's outside of the eligibility date, then the manager will need to enter the password for approval and the transaction can be pushed through. After that happens, we will display a rental summary that the customer can either review and edit or approve, and the rental request will be submitted and the transaction will be finished. The last diagram that we've included is a system sequence diagram, and this just diagrams the interaction between the ServiceNow employees and the system. They mostly revolve around getting customer information from the system. So they will process different transactions through the system, and the system will return eligibility, and then they can submit rental requests. Also, for updating individual service records, they can edit them through the system. The system actually communicates with an outside system after this, but this is the initial process that the employees will take.
All right, and right here we have our implementation plan. It will be an implementation strategy using Agile. It will consist of a requirement planning, infrastructure preparation, data conversion, deployment, design, and implementation, development, standard stabilization and testing, and launch. It'll start in about January and finish up in about August, and that will be kind of the time frame of it. Thank you very much.